Hey, how's it going? My name is Nick and welcome to a build video to kickstart this channel. I do love building PCs, getting hands-on with PC hardware, gaming, and a bunch more tech relating to PCs. And through these videos, I intend to share with you my passion and hope you enjoy along with me as I go. Now with that said, let's go on and begin with this build. Now my goal for this project is to build a budget PC from used hardware and be able to comfortably game at 1080p. Going for used hardware in terms of bang for buck can be very rewarding but risky at the same time. You have to make sure that the components you're getting are 100% functional and up to spec, otherwise you lose money instead of saving it. So when buying used hardware, make sure you can test it hands-on before you lock in on a deal. Unless of course you are ordering it online from the likes of eBay or other third-party seller, then all there is to do is trust the seller and pray you're not sent bricks, and avoid the hassle of refunding your purchase. Anyways, I started gathering all these parts in early December of 2018 up to the end of January of 2019. I was constantly on the lookout for used PC components on my Facebook marketplace and other local ads from people who are getting rid of their older hardware or upgrading as the holidays are coming in. It took me a little long considering I needed to make sure each hardware I bought were indeed working and up to spec, but man, I must say it was all worth it. Now hold that thought. I know I could have just went on eBay, get all the parts from there and be done with it, but I wanted to source these parts locally. And eBay build will probably be for a separate video, so yeah. Before we get to the boring technical side of things, specs, prices and whatnot, here is a quick build montage for you to enjoy. If you can't already tell in terms of aesthetics, I wasn't going for a particular color or theme on this build. I would reserve that maybe for a separate video where we pimp this thing out. Now that that's out the way, let's get to the parts used in this build. Do note that I am from Canada, so for those watching from the US and so on, I will be putting up a price conversion in US dollars, at least relative to the rate at the time of this video. First is our motherboard. We have here an AsRock B450M Pro 4. Out to support the Ryzen 2000 line of CPUs, this board is packed. Now let's have a mini review of it. Two M.2 slots, the one on top near the CPU supports NVMe or SATA, while the lower slot is a SATA only slot which shares its lane with the existing SATA port number 3. 4 DDR4 slots which support up to 3200 MHz, PCIe 3.0x16, the second one being PCIe 2.0x4 which supports up to two-way crossfire only if you are into that kind of stuff, and one PCIe 2.0x1 slot. 4 SATA 3 6GB ports supporting RAID 0, RAID 1, and RAID 10. 5 4-pin fan headers, all of which are conveniently placed. 2 USB 2.0 headers and 1 USB 3.0 header. 3 RGB headers, one of which is addressable for more color customization. A 9-phase power delivery on a 6+3 configuration, which is ample enough. The VRM heatsinks are also beefy, so cooling won't be an issue. Now onto the rear panel. From the top we have 2 USB 2.0 ports alongside a PS2 port for your older peripherals, 1 VGA, 1 DVI-D, and 1 HDMI port, all of which can all be used at the same time, granted if you are going with the onboard graphic. 1 USB 3.1 Gen 2 Type A port and 1 USB 3.1 Gen 2 Type C port. 4 USB 3.1 Gen 1 Type A ports, your LAN port, and your audio jacks. So pretty well featured and has all the essentials for a budget board. Now this board retails in between 109 and 129 Canadian dollars depending on sales, but I was able to pick it up for 65 Canadian dollars. Now in my book that is a stellar deal. It was used, albeit in pristine condition. Hell, the I/O shield is even still sealed. The guy I bought it from had the board on a test bench, so that's my guess why this was not used. For our CPU, I have got a Ryzen 2200G for 70 Canadian dollars. A good old little quad-core APU with a base clock of 3.5 GHz boosting all the way to 3.7. It sadly did not come with the box nor the cooler. It was originally listed for 95 Canadian, but I was able to talk the seller down considering it won't be coming with a cooler that comes already with it out of the box. It normally retails between 119 and 139 Canadian, again depending on sales, so overall it was a solid deal. Our graphics card. Now for this one I got a little picky. I've got here a Sapphire Nitro RX 580 4GB variant. I had to be thorough in making sure that it wasn't used for mining. Not that that is bad, I have had used GPUs before that were used for mining, but I would prefer this card to have more longevity, and partly because I was just being picky. On eBay, this variant goes anywhere from 120 to 200 Canadian dollars, and brand new this ranges from 219 to 250 Canadian on Newegg, but I was able to pick it up for 110, a bit higher than what I was hoping for. I was trying to talk the seller down to 100 or even lower, but I had to pull the trigger on it. At least I got to test the card and know that it was in good hands. For the case, I was able to find this Thermaltake Core V21 Cube style micro ATX case. It's missing some of the rails for connecting fans and radiators. No motherboard screws included, but I got that covered. It has a few scuffs and scratches on the acrylic panel of all places. One of the dust filter is missing and another one is damaged. But it came with 200mm fan, so I can't really complain for 20 Canadian dollars. And for storage, I have here a Samsung Series 840 250GB SSD I picked up for 35 Canadian dollars. It has a slight damage on the SATA connector. The plastic tip kind of chipped off, but it still works and still usable. I normally would go for a brand new one since buying used hard drives can be a bit sketchy, but nothing to worry about this specific drive. Probably my last purchase for a used storage. And for our games and other miscellaneous stuff, I have here a Seagate Baracuda Pro 2.5-inch 1TB hard drive I pulled up from a laptop I recently upgraded. I have that posted on my Instagram, so if you are interested in the stuff that I work on that don't make it into videos, just check me out there too. For memory, I was able to get this 8GB kit of Team T-Froce Delta 2 RGB RAM at 3000 MHz in white for 65 Canadian dollars. This same kit retails for around 90 to 120 Canadian dollars, and I would highly recommend you check it out as well if you're looking for a great value RGB RAM. The RGB illumination on this thing is just lovely. I had second thoughts at first, but damn, I was surprised how good it looks. Anyways, I can easily get another 8GB kit down the line if I want to be on that 16GB sweet spot. All of the other parts are used except for the power supply. I have here an EVGA 450BT 450W 80 plus bronze power supply. It is non-modular, so there's that. It should be more than enough for all the components going into this build. I got it for 40 Canadian dollars on sale on Newegg, so it's a win. Now, I do recommend you buy a new power supply if you're going for a budget build yourself. I mean, there are pretty cheap options out there, especially from EVGA. There's nothing wrong with buying used power supplies, just make sure they are fully functional and consider the age of the power supply. I have had issues before building with used power supplies, so buy smart and at your own risk. Since I didn't have the stock cooler for the CPU, I went on ahead and got this Be Quiet Pure Rock Slim. Rated at 120W TDP, it should be more than enough for the 2200G. I will be able to overclock better with this cooler if I wish to. Picked it up on Newegg for a ball jiggling 25 Canadian dollars, so I kinda lied when I said the power supply was the only part that is not used, so peace. Anywho, in total, this build cost me around 430 Canadian dollars, and for a system this capable, I'd say this is a solid, well-rounded system for 1080p gaming at least, with huge room for future upgrades. I was aiming at least for a Ryzen 1400 or even a 1600, but they are a bit out of my range in my budget as I am not considering going over 450 on this build. Ryzen 3000 is out in a few more months, so that would be a better option for upgrade down the line. It will be natively supported in the B450 chipset, so that's a massive plus. I also do not spend much on storage given I already have the hard drive on hand, which if I factor in buying a new one could easily add anywhere from 30 to 75 Canadian additional. How well does it perform though? Now I've rounded up some games to show off what this rig can do. Note that these are the only games that I have on hand that I play, so don't hate. I will be working on expanding my game library. Now I've used frame times as a basis for the benchmarks to better get accurate FPS readings. Now a link will be in the description below for more on that. that is it for this build. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I hope this video helped you out in some ways if you're planning to do the same. Stay tuned for more stuff coming in, and be sure to check out that video description for more details, and I'll see you later.